The Venus Fly Escape. Adaline doused her hair in hairspray before raking her straight brunette hair. She had applied 2 coats of deodorant because she was sweating profusely and was on her way to the third. It was also that time when she had noticed a last-minute pimple. It was Valentine's night. It was the first one with her long-time crush. Adaline was 17 and had this crush since she was 15. They had started going out 6 months ago and were making it out to be a big deal around high school. If they could continue their good run, they would go to the prom together, graduate together, and maybe even attend the same college. Thinking about it all, she could feel her armpits getting moist, so she applied another coat. The doorbell rang. Adaline was the only one in the house. Her parents were out on their own Valentine's Day date. Her mother had married her high school sweetheart as well. Hopefully it ran in the genes. Adaline opened the front door, and a figure dressed in a black hoodie grabbed her by the arm and covered her mouth. In her ear he whispered, "Scream, and there's no Valentine's date for you." Ignoring his threat, she let one out. Even though it was muffled, he drew a knife to her throat. She looked at it wide-eyed and stopped screaming. The knife didn't keep her from trying to break free, however. The man kept his hand over her mouth and dragged her away from her home. Adaline's bare feet skidded over the hard, lumpy ground. She could feel the dirt get jammed underneath her freshly painted toenails. The man dragged her down a hillside, and Adaline could make out a brown car, looking like a sports wagon. It reminded her of one that her grandparents would drive. As soon as they got close to it, the man slammed her head onto the trunk. "When I say shut up," he snarled, "I mean shut up." Adaline let out a painful cry. Her body was starting to numb. He slammed her head again, this time causing her to black out. Adaline had no way of knowing how long she was knocked out. She woke up with a pounding in her head. It was nauseating. Her vision was blurry. All she could make out were gray and black, amorphous objects. The air felt muggy, like right after a hard rain, and the smell was damp and sour like she was trudging through a sewer. She tried to move but felt constricted. It was like being stiff the next morning after a workout. The problem was that she couldn't move at all. Her vision was starting to clear. The amorphous objects were starting to take shape. The image of a barrel, no, more like an oil drum, came into focus. Then a table with various undiscernible objects was next, followed by the wall of stone, small rectangular window at the top, a ceiling with wooden beams, a lawnmower, a bandsaw, a few tires. Then it hit her. She started jerking her arms and legs but was immobile. She started breathing rapidly. All the air from her lungs had vanished. It was like she was choking now. That's because she was being choked. Her neck was constricted with a tight steel clamp. "Help! Somebody! Help me, please!" She was sitting in a wooden chair. It must have been handmade because every time she moved back and forth, the legs bent, like they were made of styrofoam. Her wrists and ankles were tied down with bits of yarn. She could hardly move her hand, but just enough to make out wide funnels. They were each filled with water. Below each funnel was a wide bowl, about the width of her stomach. The bowls were connected to 2 levers, one attached to either side of a steel clamp. Surrounding her head were teeth. Realistically, there were a bunch of spikes that appeared to have been welded onto 4 fin-like plates. Each spike appeared to be 2 inches long, resembling teeth. "Help! Somebody help!" Then she heard footsteps. They were coming down a set of stairs. She couldn't see very well to her left. There might have been 4 or 5 other guys standing right behind her, ready to do God knew what. That was a horrible feeling. She was confined, trapped, unable to do anything about anything. She didn't know what was worse, the feeling of helplessness, or that there were 2-inch spikes less than a foot from her face. A man came into view. She had not seen the man before, but it didn't take long for her to put 2 and 2 together. "Let me go, you son of a bitch," she rasped. The man smiled. "Do you remember me, Adaline? I don't pay attention to worthless sacks of shit. I asked you out for a Valentine's Day dinner, and you turned me down. Don't you remember? It was 2 weeks ago. You were shooting hoops at the Y, and we started talking about how you liked sea bass and shrimp just as much as I. So I invited you to the seafood place just down the street, Barney's Seafood Palace." She was not listening to anything. Her fear had dwindled some and was overshadowed with rage. "You said maybe some other time, and from there I knew that there would be no such time. I just couldn't get you out of my head, Adaline. It was love at first sight, so I had to track you down. When I found out that you had a special date tonight, on the night of all nights, I couldn't let that happen." He shuffled over to her and raised his hand. She wanted to bite it, tear each of those fingers off. She wanted to kick him so hard that his balls flew out of his asshole. He caressed the side of her temple with 2 fingers. His touch was ice cold. "Now, I'm not here to slumpy rape you and kill you. That's not classy, is it? I'm going to make you fight for your life. Either you say yes to the date with me tonight or die in my homemade Venus flytrap. He went over to one of the funnels. As soon as I open this up, water will slowly drip into the bowl. The bowl will get heavier and heavier, and gradually pull the lever down. As the lever goes down, the mouth of the Venus flytrap will gradually close up, thus penetrating your skull. Now, after hearing that, a date with me doesn't seem so bad, right? I would let it rip my pussy to shreds before I ever let you touch it. Adaline expected fury in the man's eyes, but instead he just shrugged and unscrewed the first funnel. A steady drip-drip was heard hitting the steel bowl. Suit yourself, but just so you know, I'm not beneath putting a bag over your head when you're dead, if you catch my drift. You sick motherfucker, Adaline shouted. He chuckled as he went around and unscrewed the other funnel. If you change your mind, just holler. I'll be watching from the cameras. He kissed his fingertip and pressed it to the side of her cheek. He started back up the basement steps. I imagine you have 20 minutes to half an hour at the most. Her rage instantly shrank back and fear overtook her again. Her heart thudded in her chest. She screamed and screamed, shaking the rickety wooden chair. Then an idea flashed. If she shook the contraption hard enough, it would dump some of the water out, buying her some time. The edge of the bowls was barely visible, but she could make out each drop that went over. She put all her rage into each shake. The contraption made soft creaking noises and a squeak that hurt her ears. Her neck and limbs were beginning to ache, causing her to back off on the shaking. Tears started weltering, and she let out another furious scream. Then her heart dropped when she saw the teeth get pushed upward. They had moved a whole inch closer to her face. She screamed and shook the contraption harder than before. She could only see a small splash go over the side of the bowls. When she was exhausted from crying, the only sound in the basement was the steady drip, drip, drip. The teeth rose up again. Adaline figured that she would have at least 15 minutes left before the teeth penetrated her skull. If it didn't crush her face, she was sure to bleed to death. She began thinking irrationally. Maybe a Valentine's Day with this man wouldn't be so bad. Shut up, Adaline. He plans to rape you and kill you anyway. There is no way you're going on a date with that parasite. Then she needed to rack her brain quick. The teeth rose up again. She resumed shaking the contraption again despite her neck and wrist being sore. A new thought rose up. The contraption was loose enough, maybe she could jam something into the levers. She searched around frantically. Then her eyes fell onto a screw on the floor. It was only a few feet away from her bare foot. If she could get her foot free, grab the screw with her toes, she could bend her leg good enough to grab it. She wiggled her leg and felt a piece of yarn start to give way. The teeth rose again. Drip, drip, drip. Oh, come on, she hollered. She felt her heel start sliding over the wooden leg. There was a small burning cut, but she ignored it. After rubbing her heel over the leg a few more times, she was free. In her line of vision, she saw her leg and foot. Blood was dripping from the heel where she had cut it, but she stretched herself over the screw and carefully rolled it closer before picking it up. Holding her breath, she held it up to her left hand. She didn't exhale until the job was accomplished. The teeth rose again. They seemed only a couple inches from her face now. The basement was starting to get smaller and smaller. Drip, drip, drip. Now she was wiggling her hand free. She felt the same burning cut, but ignored it also. Her heart stopped again when she thought the screw had slipped from her fingertips. She grabbed it and squeezed it. For her, that screw was a lifeline. With a cry, she slid her hands free. It went up to the side of the neck clamp. She desperately tried to find a small opening where the handle met the clamp. To her relief, she found one and jammed the screw into it. She waited, holding her breath a second time. The teeth on her right side rose again, but the teeth on the left side seemed to stall. She stretched her eyes and saw that the bowl hadn't moved. So far, her plan was working. She quickly untied her other hand and grabbed at the teeth's plate. She shook and shook the chair, sending water splashing to the floor. The plates were bending some, and she could hear cracking sounds like that of plastic crinkling. The more she shook, the more she felt the steel clamp starting to loosen. It was to her good fortune that the kidnapper was such a shitty mechanical engineer. Just then she heard footsteps as one of the plates was breaking off. Her kidnapper came storming toward her. What do you think you're... Adaline slapped him with the teeth, right across the side of his face. She was so forceful that she surprised herself. The man cried out and stumbled backward. By now, Adaline's other ankle was free, and she wiggled the steel clamp with all her strength she had left. Her head hit the teeth in the back several times, but the will to be free was overpowering her. She wouldn't be surprised if she didn't notice her hobbling out of the basement on one leg. The man got to his feet. Blood had now covered his face. He was still in a daze, but had a malicious look as he staggered toward her. She tried kicking him, but he grabbed her legs. You're being very disobedient, he rasped. To Adaline's horror, he was reaching for one of the plates. She stopped him by biting his wrist, yet he was now gripping the steel clamp. Adaline realized that her good fortune had not left her. The stupid son of a bitch could help her. If she could get the clamp loose enough by herself, surely they could break it together. She grabbed his wrist to hold them firmly on the clamp. As she expected,